what we often talk about is less stress, right? More money, really truly unplugging at the end of the day and being with your family because you're not thinking about the business, like your stress level has gone down, being able to unplug when you go on that vacation because you've got faith in the people that are running the business, that it's going well. You enjoy running the business again. It's not this source of stress for you.
Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Nowakowski. I'm a salon owner, educator, mindset, and leadership coach that helps salon owners go from overwhelmed and burnt out to motivated and empowered. It is my mission to help you systemize your business, generate more profit, and create a career that you love. Join us every week to learn about the small shifts you can make to elevate your business regarding mindset, marketing, social media, business systems, and so much more. This week on the Elevate podcast, I'm thrilled to chat with Vhance Valencia. Vhance is a recognized expert in building systems for tech-based engineering firms and government organizations. With over 2 decades of military experience all over the globe, Vhance has transformed the organizations he has led into more efficient, effective, resilient, and reliable teams. Today, we're going to walk away from this episode ready to systemize and optimize your business. Thank you, Vhance, for being on my podcast today. Will you take a moment to introduce yourself to our audience?
Patricia, thanks for having me on. Super excited to talk for however long it's going to be on the podcast today. Like your audience members, I also am a business owner. I've recently started I've been saying recently for the past year. It's been about a year since I started my business as a consultant, helping small business owners. And what I like to say is build high-performing teams. And there's 2 different ways that I do that. One way is using behavioral assessments to understand your employee or your team member, understand their personality. What we know is that when you have certain personalities together, that team takes on its own personality. And then when I bounce that up against strategy, I help understand the teamwork and how the strategy fit together and identify risks and gaps. That's the kind of the sexier part of what I do, the non-sexy part of what I do, but really beneficial to businesses are processes and systems. And I recently retired from the military. I was a civil engineer, was doing it for 20 years, had some really, really cool projects as an Air Force civil engineer, going all over the world and building some really cool things. But what I found was that my penchant for systems thinking, building systems, getting efficiencies out of teams, out of processes, were things that were needed for the organization that I was working for, were getting the attention of my senior leaders, but were things that other people around me weren't working on. And I've been thinking about why, and a lot of it is because, one, it's not like the cool or hip thing to do. It's a non-sexy kind of part of work. And then the other piece is that people just don't naturally think in systems and processes. And then another part is that the work that I do, it has long-term, it's kind of a long-term need or has longer-term implications. And when you're in the military, you bounce around from job to job to job, and people don't think past, next week or next month. When you're dealing in systems and processes, you're really thinking quarter to quarter, and you can really, start strategizing and thinking year to year. And so it's a long, when you embark on this journey of systemizing your business, get ready for kind of a long-term ride. And that's a good thing because you want your business to be around for the long term, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you touched base on the unsexy because I feel like there is such a boom of entrepreneurship and especially salon ownership because it's glamorized on social media. And when people actually get in it, they don't realize that there's so many unsexy things that they have to do in order to have a thriving business and to be able to efficiently run their business. So what do you think systems do for somebody's business and how would it be beneficial for my audience?
Yeah, so it does a couple of things for a business. On the business side, for the overall business, on the team side, you get to this thing called complete business reliability. And there's 3 elements of complete business reliability. One is understanding your you're having certainty in your processes. So knowing how that customer engagement is going to go, right? With 100% certainty. When somebody walks in through the door, you know all of the steps that they're going to go through, and you'll be able to see, you'll be able to picture in your head, this is exactly that experience that customer is going to have, because you have complete certainty in your processes. The second element is this element of performance. If you can get your business systemized, you're going to have a business that operates like a quote unquote well-oiled machine and can outperform other competitors in the space that you have. And so, take two salon owners, or take two salons, one systemized, one not systemized. The one that is systemized, it's simply going to perform better, because that business owner, that team isn't making things up as they go along, right? And then when it comes to performance, you've thought about and have implemented systems that track how you're doing. On a day-to-day basis, you're able to complete, number of sales, or you're able to gather a certain number of clients. And from those metrics, you can then see how you're performing today, and then predict how you're going to perform tomorrow, right? And because you can predict, you can start making decisions, that impact your business longer term, or at least into the next quarter. And then the final element of complete business reliability, if you get to that point, is you're going to have a team that's bought in, right? So imagine now that as a business owner, you choose to take 6 weeks off, right? Now imagine going off on vacation and knowing all your processes and systems, because you've got that business certainty, knowing that your team, when you leave them alone, they can outperform businesses in that space that you're operating in. And guess what? Maybe the business operates better without you as the business owner. And then imagine that you're on your 6-week vacation, and you're confident in knowing that you can leave your team behind for that amount of time, because they're bought into how you want the business run. Like, they are fiercely defending how the way things are done at your salon. Imagine being a business owner with those three elements, and being on that 6-week vacation, and how unplugged you really can be. Like, you're not that person that's calling back in and checking in on things, or dealing with that client issue, or dealing with that ordering of supplies and materials, because your team's got it. You've got that complete business reliability. Now, so I talked about on the business side, what is having a systemized business do for the business? What does having a systemized business do for the business owner, right? What we often talk about is less stress, right? More money, really truly unplugging at the end of the day and being with your family, because you're not thinking about the business. Like, your stress level has gone down. Being able to unplug when you go on that vacation, because you've got faith in the people that are running the business, that it's going well. You enjoy running the business again. It's not this source of stress for you, because things are going really, really well. And then the other piece, which is a little bit counterintuitive, as a creative, when you have a systemized business, people often think, oh, if I follow this checklist, I'm going to be stuck to this checklist, and I'm not going to be able to use my creativity to help my clients, be their best selves. But actually, the opposite happens, because when you systemize the things that are routine, right? You've made things automatic, and what that does is that frees up all sorts of mental space in your head now, so that you can be this creative person. You can help solve problems that your clients are bringing to you. You can be your best creative self. And so that's the counterintuitive part. That's the most powerful part of having a systemized business, is that it really does free you up, not just from the day-to-day, but it frees you up mentally, so that you can be, the best version of, the beautician, or the receptionist, or the business owner, whatever part you play in a salon. So between, the business overall and the personal aspects of having a systemized business, I think those are those are two sides of the coin that really help in systemizing a business.
Yeah, I think a lot of salon owners, and this is what I try to help salon owners create for themselves, they're searching for physical freedom and mental freedom. And the systems and putting systems in place are what is going to do that. And if you look at all of these really famous companies who actually are very successful and have outperformed their market, like Starbucks, they're very systemized with their drinks, how they run their business. The Ritz-Carlton, like everyone wants to stay at the Ritz because of the systems with customer service and just running the business in general. Systems make you successful. And I think that people don't realize that, and they don't want to put the time in to create them because it is a very daunting process. And I think one thing that salon owners struggle with is the accountability part to the systems. It's very hard for them to hold their team accountable because of their, running their business out of fear. They're afraid to lose team members. They're afraid to be the bad guy. What advice would you give a salon owner who has the systems but lacks the accountability?
So there's three things. As I've talked to different groups about systems, I tell them these are the three secrets, and maybe they are secrets because most people don't know about them. First one is that the business owner is actually the worst person in the business to tackle systemizing, right? And there's two reasons for that. One, they're typically the entrepreneur and the creative. And as an entrepreneur, as a creative, like you're trying all sorts of different things and seeing what sticks on the wall. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? That's kind of the risk-seeking part. Maybe some people call you, distracted by the shiny object or squirrel, and you go chasing after that squirrel. What happens is if you try to systemize everything that you're doing and it's not really working, and you just wasted a bunch of time doing it. So that's reason number one why the business owner is the worst person to be in the business to be systemizing. The second is there's an opportunity cost trade-off to doing that. So when you spend that hour trying to document the thing that you're doing, that's an hour that you're not spending leading your team, solving, problem solving with the technician that needs your help, doing the mentoring and coaching for your team. You're not making or thinking about big strategic decisions for the business when you spend that, when you spend that time. So the business owner is the worst person to be doing the systemizing. That's tip one. Tip two, leads into that. So if it's not the business owner, then who needs to be systemizing? Well, tip two is that it's actually a two-person job. First person is the knowledgeable worker, right? And so when you get started in systemizing your business, what you want to do is you want to look at all your processes, systems and processes. They're one and the same. Ask yourself, who does it the best in my business, on my team? And the person that does it the best is the knowledgeable worker. And you're not going to get the knowledgeable worker to do it, to do the systemizing. That's the second person's job. And the second person is the systems champion, right? And that systems champion, that's going to be a key person on your team. You're going to give them this responsibility of, you're going to help me systemize this business. And so, that's going to be added responsibility. Maybe that's a different position. Maybe that's a different, pay structure that they've got, because this systems champion is going to be key to helping you get your business to the next level. And their job is to go around and interview all of the different knowledgeable workers and get the system to a 70% or an 80% kind of solution. And the trick is get it to 70% or 80% solution, take what you've written or worked on, give it back to the knowledgeable worker and say, hey, is this how you do things? Did I catch it right? And what happens is you're going to get a lot of good collaboration there because no one likes to write, but everyone loves to edit, right? And so there's a little bit of back and forth, and between the two on that two-person job, it'll make creating systems much easier because you're working on it with somebody else. And maybe you can make it fun. It's not, because you're working with somebody else and you've chosen the systems champion, there's some criteria you need to look at. Like, are they, one, do they like this kind of task that I'm about to assign them? Do they naturally use checklists or processes or think in this way? If you find that right person, that right systems champion, it can help make creating systems really fun and really take you as a business owner out of it. And then the final tip is, I have nothing against paper manuals or paper binders. If you have systems or processes written down in those kind of physical documents, that's great. But hey, let's leverage technology today. There's some really great platforms out there for having a system for your systems, right? So leverage, go out there and there's some software applications or different kinds of software platforms that you can use that'll make storing systems easy, but not just storing them, sharing them, creating them, editing them, getting your team to use them. If you make all all of those things easy, if you remove all those different roadblocks to using and creating systems, that'll just make getting to a systemized business much easier for you, the business owner, and the rest of the team.
I love that. Now, when you're working with businesses, where do you see the biggest gaps in small businesses just in general, or holes in their business?
It's the last bit that I showed you, which was the system for having systems. So either they're starting on their journey of getting things documented, and if they're starting on their journey for getting things documented, that's great. It's so much easier to say, this is you don't have any choice. Like, if you're working with me, this is the platform that you're going to use. Or they have, the manual, the paper manual that's nobody's using, or maybe they're using Dropbox or Google Drive or SharePoint, and they don't have a really great way of organizing their systems. And so, they may say that they have a systemized business, but what we see is that it's clunky. It's too hard to use. And eventually, if you make it hard enough, they're just going to stop using their system. They're just going to stop using that documentation that helps your business grow. So that's the biggest gap, I think, is that not using the resources out there or the technology out there, the software that's out there to help systemize your business. That's the biggest gap for the most part, is what I see. I described two kinds of situations. Situation A is where you don't have a system. Those are kind of the startup folks. What we say in systemology is there's 4 different stages of business. In the first stage, you're in survival mode. You're making up things as you go along. You don't have systems written. And that's that first category of people, is they just don't have systems down. And in that survival mode, what we see is that maybe the team doesn't use systems. The biggest thing is that there's a bottleneck. Every decision is going through somebody, and there's only one person that can make that decision. And we need to remove that bottleneck. That second category that I talked about is, okay, maybe you've got systems in place, but they're just not well organized. Those folks are kind of in what we call stationary or stagnation, where you've got the business going, you're able to cover your bills, and that's great, but you're just not seeing any growth in the business. And the way out of that is that if you can extract those core systems and processes, get them into a well-organized system, that's when you start seeing scaling growth. Because if you can get your systems and processes replicable, then you can start thinking about, hey, maybe we can franchise. Maybe I can open up a second salon somewhere, because I can just take this playbook that I've created, this digital playbook, drop it onto this other location, and they're off and running. And I haven't helped any clients yet get to a point where they can franchise. We've got plenty of case studies of other systemologists, other consultants that practice the same framework, getting their business to either be this sellable business because it is franchisable, or opening up that other franchise.
So how can someone begin to improve these areas in their business? You've already given so much information. Maybe what's one more tip that you can give? I feel like a lot of people also feel overwhelmed, and overwhelm has a tendency to create like a shutdown. So maybe help somebody who is wanting to start systems, but is feeling overwhelmed. What is something that they can just start with on a basic level to begin the process?
You got to read. There's a couple of books out there. There's 2 sets of books that I found. The first set is The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, right? So if you haven't read that, read that book. That's the first book that I read, the first real business book or small business book that I read. When you're done reading that book, the second book to read now is Systemology by Dave Jennings. Those 2 kind of go hand in hand because Dave Jennings worked with Michael Gerber in developing the business that he has today. And there's a great little foreword. And in fact, I've set up a page for your listeners. I'll get you the link afterwards that links to the systemology book, right? It's a free preview. I think it's like the introduction and maybe the first couple of chapters for them to get started. But if they can get those two books read together, that's a great place to start. If you don't like the work by Gerber and Jennings, the other set that I'd recommend is Traction by Gino Wickman. So that's the EOS operating system.
Love that
And
book.
then, yeah. And then there's a new book that just came out in the fall. I don't remember what month, but it's new this year. It's Process. So it's part of the EOS library. It is the process and systems piece of the EOS operating system. So I'd recommend reading together either eMyth and Systemology or together reading Traction and Process. And that'll get you started with systems and processes. I guess what I'm advocating is think big picture first, right? Why do you want to get systems into your business? And as you're reading the book, the books, it'll help you think about, okay, this is what I need to be doing for my business. Don't go out and start documenting systems and processes. That'll just get you nowhere. So really think about the frameworks either in eMyth and Systemology or Traction and Process. That's where I'd get to. I don't know if that's helpful because it's kind of a lot of work, but really, you need to, as a business owner, you really need to be thinking big picture and high level first.
Yeah, I am adding those to my cart as we speak. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna look at this. But I love Traction. Traction totally helped me create systems in my salon. So I love that you recommended that. So what is one last thing that you'd like to add for our audience?
Yeah, so if you don't mind, I'd love to talk about the landing page that I put together.
Yes, please.
It is the free preview of the book so that you get some additional resources and start thinking deeply. But then it's also an opportunity to connect with me. I really am here to help business owners. Right now, because of my background in engineering, I do a lot of work in the architect, engineer, and construction space. So think home builders and federal contractors in building those high performing teams. But what I love about small business owners is that it's such a small team, and the work that I can help you with will really make an impact for the people that are working for you and the business without all the politics, without all the bureaucracy, and working with a larger business. I hope to kind of reinstill that joy and that fun back to the business owner as they're growing and scaling their business, right? Think back to when you were starting out, how exciting it was. I don't know where you're at with your business, but I'm sure the minutia might get to you sometimes.
Yeah, there are times where I'd like to burn it to the ground. But we've been open for 11 years, so lots of practice. But that very beginning stage, you're right, is so fun, and it's just so exciting.
Besides the landing page, that'll take you to my website. It's a great place to try to connect with me. It's valenciaconsulting.solutions. I'm on LinkedIn, and that's really my only social media presence that I have. So my first name is spelled a little unusually, Vhance, and last name is Valencia, like the orange. So Vhance Valencia. Promise you, I'm the only one on LinkedIn. if you guys want to connect with me there, and I'm happy to take any connections out on on my LinkedIn network.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this amazing information today. I know it will be so beneficial for our listeners. And I love that you created the landing page because I feel like that's a great place for them to go and connect with you and find more information and really kind of start diving into creating systems and structure inside of their business.
It's been super helpful for the clients that I've been able to engage with. And, there's different kinds of levels where, you can get help. I've got a DIY option if budget's an issue. There's a coaching option that I do, which is kind of middle of the road. And then if you really want to get your systems kickstarted and jump started, there's an option where we call it the concierge service, where I float into the business a little bit and help over the course of 3 months, really get you kickstarted and in a great place for, getting your systems set. Earlier on in this interview, I talked about how it's kind of a longer term process, and I get you kickstarted in 90 days. And at the end of 90 days, what's really important is for you to step back and take a look and see where you're at, and then see where you want to go again, and then apply the process again. And it takes several iterations of the process to really get to that point of complete business reliability in your business. But it's a longer term process, and it is a journey, but when you embark on it, you'll get to a great place for your salon, for your business. You can't go wrong with systems and processes.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Patricia.
Wondering how I keep my business systemized? It's all thanks to Kajabi. Kajabi is a versatile platform that allows me to keep everything in one place, like my website, courses, forms, email marketing, my podcast, and so much more. It's easily mine and my team's favorite software for salon owners. To try Kajabi for 30 days, visit the link in the show notes.